How did Robin Padilla reacted to Kylie's pregnancy? Read this. Kylie Padilla recently created a buzz online after pregnancy rumors about her circulated in various websites. The couple, who were together for a year, previously called it quits on May 2014, where Kylie revealed that it was Alger who called it quits. We can also recall that Kylie's father, Robin Padilla, strongly disapproves their relationship. The ex-couple then surprised everyone when they revealed that they've gotten back together after spending time with each other in Japan. They then started posting sweet photos and videos of them together, where their fans described them as very much in love. However, they once again became the center of all controversies after a news confirmed that Kylie is already 3 months pregnant and the father is Alger Brenica. How do you think would Robin react to the issue, considering the fact that he doesn't approve them getting back together? Followed by the news. Sarah Labate and Richard Gutierrez were caught on cam doing this in Fiji Island. You've got to see this. Sarah Labate and Richard Gutierrez are considered as one of the loveliest and one of the most admired celebrity couples in the industry. Sarah Labate isn't just a hot celebrity but also a hot mom to Zion, while Richard Gutierrez continues to slay being a father to Zion. Now, this celebrity couple recently became the talk of town after a video of them went viral. The couple decided to take a break from their hectic schedule and decided to have a family vacation in Fiji Island. The viral video showed the couple being clingy and sweet to each other. The couple could be seen kissing each other as they enjoy the view under the sunlight. Their footage was tagged by the netizens as the ultimate relationship goals that everyone would want to experience. This family would really be slaying for the rest of their lives. Followed by the news. Trump's GOP foreign policy critics grow louder. Donald Trump's circle of GOP foreign policy critics is quickly expanding. The president has long been able to count on Sens. John McCain, RRs, and Lindsey Graham, RSC, to rebuke his overtures to Russia. And to a lesser extent, Sens. Marco Rubio, RFLA, and Rob Portman, R. Ohio, have sounded disapproving notes. But on Thursday, 7 more Republicans spoke out, the clearest evidence yet. Trump struck a major nerve with members of his own party when he recently put Vladimir Putin on equal moral footing with the United States. Senator Cory Gardner of Colorado sent a letter to Trump urging him to take a harder line on Russia, which drew signatures from Senate Majority Whip John Cornyn of Texas, Jim Inhofe of Oklahoma, Todd Young of Indiana, Mike Rounds of South Dakota, Joni Ernst of Iowa and Susan Collins of Maine, as well as Graham and Portman. The latest missive suggests Republicans are increasingly willing to stand up to Trump on foreign policy, an arena where the president holds many views that are at odds with long-standing GOP orthodoxy. While we should see common ground with Russia in the areas of mutual interest, we must never pursue cooperation with Russia at the expense of our fundamental interests of defending our allies and promoting our values, the senators wrote. President Putin must know that the United States remains a beacon of hope and democracy around the world, and will stand up for what is right. The senators also urged Trump not to lift sanctions on Russia unless it ends its aggression in Ukraine and relinquishes control of Crimea. The letter came the same day the Senate Foreign Relations Committee held a hearing on Russia in which witnesses described Putin's ambitions in dark terms, saying he was redrawing European borders, sowing divisions within NATO and the European Union, and undermining democratic institutions around the world. Committee Chairman Bob Corker, R10, pointed out there was wide agreement in Congress about the need to punish Russia for its aggressive behavior, but he made no mention of Trump, who has repeatedly praised Putin on Twitter and has said he wants to build a better relationship with Russia. After the hearing, Corker said he was reaching out to administration officials to urge them to take a hard line on Russia, adding, "At some point I do plan to deal with it legislatively too." Other Republicans on the committee warned against attempts by the administration to ease up on Russia, with Rubio specifically blasting any consideration by Trump of a deal to provide concessions to Putin in exchange for cooperation in the war against the Islamic State. "We're going to try to cut a deal with a guy who thinks he's winning, has no internal pressure, and wants us to give up everything in exchange for him doing what he claims to be doing anyway?" Rubio said. "Maybe I'm a little harsh, But I think that's a really stupid deal. Trump set off a wave of GOP criticism when he appeared to draw a moral equivalency between the United States and Russia during an interview with Fox News' Bill O'Reilly that aired on Sunday. "He's a killer," O'Reilly said of Putin. "There are a lot of killers," Trump said. "You think our country's so innocent?" Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, RK, responded on CNN's State of the Union that Putin was a thug. "The Russians annexed Crimea, invaded Ukraine and messed around in our elections," McConnell said. "No, I don't think there's any equivalency between the way the Russians conduct themselves and the way the United States does." One big question is whether McConnell will take any action, such as allowing floor votes on bipartisan bills related to sanctions imposed on the country by President Barack Obama. Graham on Wednesday introduced bipartisan legislation to give Congress 120 days to weigh in on any attempt to roll back sanctions. Senator Ben Cardin of Maryland, the top Democrat on the Foreign Relations panel, is pushing a measure to codify existing sanctions and impose new sanctions in response to Russia's meddling in November's presidential election. Cardin's bill has 11 co-sponsors, including Republicans Ben Sasse, Arnett, McCain, Graham, Rubio, Portman and Gardner. "I think most senators, if you ask them, have the same and similar concerns and the same beliefs when it comes to Russia," Gardner said in an interview Thursday. "We don't lift Russia sanctions until Russian behavior changes." GOP lawmakers urged Trump to get tough on Russia. 8 Republican senators on Thursday urged President Trump to take a harder line on Russia, days after he made controversial comments about Russian President Vladimir Putin decried by many as un-American. "We write to ask you to pursue a results-oriented, but tough-minded and principled policy toward the Russian Federation," the lawmakers wrote in a letter to Trump. "While we should seek common ground with Russia in the areas of mutual interest, we must never pursue cooperation with Russia at the expense of our fundamental interests of defending our allies and promoting our values." Signees included Sens. Cory Gardner, Colo. James Inhofe, Oklahoma. Todd Young, Int. Rob Portman, Ohio. Mike Rounds, SD. Joni Ernst, Iowa. Susan Collins, Maine, and Lindsey Graham, SC. They urged the president to take steps to counter continued Russian aggression in eastern Ukraine, following the 2014 annexation of the Crimean Peninsula, and maintain the current sanctions regime until Russia withdraws from the country. They also pressed the president not to enter into any diplomatic or military agreements with Moscow as long as Russia supports Syrian President Bashar al-Assad in the ongoing conflict in that country. Trump has said that the U.S. and Russia should cooperate to fight the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria, ISIS. Officials and national security experts have argued that such a proposal is fanciful, saying Russia's primary goal is to maintain influence in the region by propping up the Assad regime. For example, few Russian airstrikes in the region have been against ISIS targets. It is plainly evident that despite Russian claims to the contrary, Moscow's main goal is not the defeat of the Islamic State, but the preservation of the Assad regime at any cost, the lawmakers wrote Thursday, using an alternate name for the terror group. They urged a firm response to Russian attempts to interfere in the U.S. elections, including diplomatic actions, economic consequences, as well as a strengthened military posture in Europe. Most importantly, we urge you to relay to Moscow that the values of democracy, human rights, transparency, and accountability are central to U.S. foreign policy, that these values are non-negotiable, and that the United States will continue to advance these values globally, including with regard to Russia. Trump throughout the campaign and since he was inaugurated has alarmed Republicans with his warm attitude toward Russia. Those fears turned to outrage last weekend when the president downplayed contract killings ordered by Putin. During an interview that aired Sunday night, Fox News host Bill O'Reilly pressed Trump on the issue, saying, "But he's a killer though. Putin's a killer. There are a lot of killers. We've got a lot of killers. What, you think our country is so innocent?" Trump responded. The comments drew swift condemnation from both sides of the aisle. "It's really incredible that the President of the United States would equate the greatest nation on earth, that has the greatest record of helping people on earth, with that of Vladimir Putin, who is a butcher and a killer, Senator John McCain, are ours," said on CNN Thursday. The White House has attempted to soothe jangled nerves, arguing that Trump's comments were an affirmation of the president's desire to begin a new relationship with Russia, not a statement of moral equivalency. Rather, what the president is seeking to do is to begin a relationship with the people of Russia and with their leadership to say, "Are there ways that we can begin to work together?" Vice President Mike Pence told Fox News earlier this week. "Thank you for viewing videos. My channel regularly posts new videos. If you remember registered channels to receive the latest announcements, please. Thanks."